Hello, hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with Grant Writing and Funding, and welcome to the Grant Writing and Funding podcast and YouTube channel. We also have this on YouTube if you guys are tuning in on the podcast. So definitely, and I have a great guest today to welcome to the show. We have Gauri Manglik online here today, and she is CEO and co-founder of Instrumentl, which is a grant writing platform. Really, really awesome that you can actually look for grants, you can do your grant research, you can keep everything in one place. There's some grant management tools and all of that fun stuff. So welcome back to the podcast, Gauri.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So we had you on, I think it was episode 173. So for you guys that want to also check that one out, go to 173. And then we had Angela on before too. So we've definitely had people from Instrumentl on the show. And one of the reasons for that is because as a grant writer myself, having nearly 2 decades of grant writing experience and looking for grants and doing the grant research and seeing all of the different platforms, some have been there the whole time, some have come and gone. Instrumentl has been one that I think is the most intuitive, user-friendly, and really smart, way to, I know I've always kind of talked about it like a dating app for grants, to find grants. Like, I just find it so intuitive to use, and it creates so much ease for the grant writer, whether you're doing it for a nonprofit, that's your full-time job, or if you're a board director, you're volunteering and you're trying to, find grants for your nonprofit, or as a freelance grant writer or nonprofit consultant where this is your job and you really need a steady base of a place to find grants. So I think that Instrumentl, I just commend you guys for creating it because I think it's such a great space. And yeah, it's offered a lot. Yeah, I've got so much, I get so much feedback all the time. I have a lot of students who actually sign up for Instrumentl and they always say, oh my gosh, I love it. It's changed my life for grant.
Cool.
Yeah, saves so much time, all of that. So yay. So I'm just going to be a rating fan about that.
That's awesome. We love hearing that.
Yes. And of course I am an affiliate too. So just straight up, like but this is real stuff, you guys. I actually get real things from my students. I've seen how intuitive it is, etc. And it really is a great platform. So really great. And I just wanted to, some of you guys might be like, what, Instrumentl, huh? What exactly is that? So I just want to let Gauri, one of the co-founders, kind of explain in another way about what it is specifically. What is Instrumentl specifically? Like I've kind of touched, you can find grants,
Sure.
a little more detail.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Instrumentl is the institutional fundraising platform. So we help you with all things institutional fundraising. So it could be discovering new opportunities, new funders, researching those opportunities and funders, figuring out if they're a good fit, tracking your research, collaborating with your team, actually tracking those submissions, that funder feedback, and being strategic so you know how much to ask year over year, and then reporting and just kind of keeping everything in one place. That's the kind of biggest thing that we found with the value that Instrumentl provides is there's a lot that happens with each of these components, with having the data, making the tracking easy to use, but the biggest lever here is just having it all here so that you have one workflow and you're not jumping around between tools. It's all here for you and your team.
I love that. Yeah. And you can get multiple users on it. So it is a software that you can enter. And what I love about it, as soon as you sign up for Instrumentl, it will ask you specific questions on the project that you need funding for. So then you can go through, there's a selection of checkboxes, different ways that it really starts to become a smart data finder right away, because it's starting to then vet, right? Like, who are you? What are you looking for? What amount for what type of topic, etc. And then it's going to find for you the specific foundations or funding sources that would be a good fit potentially for that program. And I think that's so smart, because some people might say, well, why don't you just use Google? Like, why subscribe to a platform? And it's like, well, you can Google, but think of it's not going to vet any of that for you. You're just going to be left with 5 million pages of, stuff that you have to search through. So I really love that it is like that one place that then you don't have to, maybe put in this Excel sheet, in this document, in this Google Drive, you might put another foundation over here. You might put something that puts it together in one place, like you said, and then you can have multiple users access that. which is also huge, because another thing I have found that I've gotten feedback from people that my students that use Instrumentl as well, is they have said that it has been the godsend when someone leaves a nonprofit.
Yes. Yeah.
And leave with all that institutional knowledge, or where those folders are, where those Excel sheets are, and nothing's left to be like, what grants did they even get? What year was that? There's no real information that's staying with a nonprofit.
Yeah.
When leaves. So
Totally.
kind of that fix, right? So if you have a turnover rate, if you have a new board of directors, as long as there's access to that platform, they have that institutional knowledge, right? So which is really important. So yeah, that's really awesome. But
yeah, we got a lot of like,
go ahead.
We get a lot of folks who join a new organization and they're like, where is all this information? And then they're frustrated. And then they're like, okay, this is like actually a good time for me to now set up something like Instrumentl. So the next person doesn't have to deal with this.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's a really good kind of like that. It kind of becomes that automated institutional knowledge, which is so important. Yeah, so I love that in Instrumentl. And you guys have been doing a lot of different things lately. I love, we're going to be talking about, actually in just a few minutes, I'm going to have you talk about some of your upcoming things with Instrumentl. But I wanted to say that you guys have been doing a lot on getting different grant writers. You've been doing a lot of webinar series, and just to talk about how they use Instrumentl and different tips that they can give out on grant writing. So that's been really fantastic. And that's also free for people to attend. So we can definitely put a link in the show notes for people if they want to get on their calendar some of the different trainings that you do. So you guys have been really, trying to bring more information to people on how to use your platform and just in grant writing in general. So that's really cool. So, and then like, as we talk about this new thing you guys are doing, like, has that kind of led to some of that discovery? Like just hearing from people what they want or what they need, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's where that's how we build our product. It really comes from our customers' pain points and our users' pain points. And that's where we build from. So the webinars, feedback that people write in, where they write into us, interviews that we do with customers, that all feeds into our product development process. And I'm glad you brought up the webinars. Just wanted to like call out there that our goal, definitely the folks that are on these webinars are kind of illustrating how they're using Instrumentl in their institutional fundraising platform. But even if you don't use Instrumentl, you'll still get a lot of value because they're talking about best practices of institutional fundraising across the board. And so you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, that's great. I know I was one of the featured speakers on your webinar, so that was awesome. And I talked about the 7 tips to grant writing, right? So I talked about like different tips on how to write grants. And I also showed like one of the tips is the G in the grants formula, and that's to get the FOA, the funding opportunity announcement. So I was saying this is on Instrumentl, you can get it this way. You can also get it in these other ways. Right. So you're right. It's not just exclusively for people using Instrumentl. I've also watched some of them and have gotten a lot of great tips on, different things on how people teach different items in grant writing. I think it's really interesting, and you have some really great peeps on there. So so thanks for doing that. So if you guys are out there interested in that, we'll definitely share that. But we also wanted to talk about your advanced prospecting workshops. And just, I wanted to know, like, this, when we're talking about this new thing that you guys are doing, just go ahead and let's share it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? I don't know a lot about it yet, so I'm learning right along with you guys today.
So we're excited to launch a bunch of new functionality to the platform. There's basically 3 pretty big features that are included in a new plan that we are launching called a Plus plan. And again, a lot of this comes from what we've heard that our customers and our users want. And a lot of it is like leveraging that data that comes from 990s and doing it in a way in which we like eliminate a lot of the work on your behalf when it comes to both research and discovering. So I can just jump into the 3 main features. So the first one is called Advanced Funder Insights. And so everyone is used to like kind of different kinds of foundation profiles, potentially on other platforms. I'm sure your audience is well versed at like actually looking at 990 PDFs. And so what we've done is gone beyond what you can find on a lot of these foundation profiles and tried to come up with insights that can truly help you make decisions more quickly that you actually can't find anywhere else. So a great example of that is, when you're looking at a new funder, you want to know generally, like, how often does this funder fund new nonprofits, like new grantees? Do they tend to fund grantees, like the same grantees year over year? Do they tend to fund new grantees? And the way that you might do that today is you'd either go through the PDF, or you could look at a list of grantees like every single year, but we now actually do that for you. So we can say on average over the past 3 years, the percentage of grants that have been made to new grantees is like 30%. And so you might say, and that tends to be about average, but so that is helpful to know, but you might then prioritize a different funder that maybe funds like 60% or 70% to new grantee, like maybe that's a focus of theirs, and you can prioritize that over this funder. That's one data point that can go into your matrix.
That's good. Because that does,
yeah.
I'm old school, like back in the day, we'd have to like print out the 990s and look at all of the things, and then print out their last 3 years or whatever, and then compare it like you said.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time. So to have that like right away, so that you have the tech just boom, does it for you.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see like year over year, like if that changed, like you can even see if that's going up or down. Are they funding more new grantees or less new grantees? And then a cool thing to kind of build on that is how much you should be asking if you're a new grantee versus a repeat grantee. And so this is cool because it's not only helping you at the beginning, if you're breaking in, you're kind of getting your foot in the door, you want to make sure you know what to ask, but also like when you're going for like the 3rd or 4th year, building relationships with the funder, you can see what the potential is to grow. So we also break that out for you.
I like that. So to be like, okay, if I got $15,000 on my first year, my second year, can I ask for 20,000 or 25,000 maybe in the 3rd year? That's sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Totally. And you can even see how the amounts vary based on the category. So maybe the median or the average is like really high, but you can see that that's only for universities. And so then you might be more strategic if you're in a different category, and so you can see how those differ.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. That must have been really interesting to see the data come through too. Like you said, like about 30% do this. Like now those kind of, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. That would be.
Yeah.
And have you had like how far back did you guys go? Are you going for this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's about we go back as far as like we have data e-filings for. So it could be, I would say on anywhere from like 3 to 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So then they can also compare, because like 2020 was like, an interesting year for funding, right? So to look at that, obviously you're gonna see a lot more with the health, education sectors, right? So to be like, that might be an anomaly in these types of years, right? So you can compare it with previous data, which would be helpful. Yeah. Yep. Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of advanced funder insights. There's a bunch of other new functionality that you can do when you're looking at like a private funder's profile, essentially, that just helps you understand their implicit preferences, right? Like not the stuff that they might see on the website, but like helps you glean insights from their data so that you don't have to do it yourself.
Nice.
And then the second one is called Foundation Discovery. And so one thing that folks that use Instrumentl may know is that when you set up that project, as you described, you're setting up your like dating profile, what we're matching you to are active opportunities. And those active opportunities could come from any kind of funding type. So it could be corporate, private foundation, or it could be even government. And we basically get this information from the website, and we build these pages on Instrumentl and we match you to them. And that's been like kind of our bread and butter until now in terms of helping you discover new opportunities. The thing that we haven't been doing that we're now starting to do is actually matching you to private funders that don't have websites or may not have active opportunities, so that you can also know if those are a good option for you. And you are definitely going to need to take a different strategy with them. You're going to need to focus more on relationship building. But we've heard a lot of feedback from folks that have the capacity to relationship build, or where that's a big part of their strategy, that they also need to have those funders on Instrumentl be able to be matched to those funders on Instrumentl, so they can decide if they want to pursue those too. In the past, you could always look them up and like get their information, but now we're actually like matching you to them as well.
Oh, nice. And then, so what would be a strategy then of using that? So they don't have a website, right? So they might not be taking a lot of solicitations then, do you see more of that? Do you see like these are harder to reach places if they don't have a website?
Yeah, so the things that would be in this bucket is if they don't have a website or if they don't accept applications. So some of these do have websites, but they don't accept applications. And some of them actually do accept applications, which they indicate in their 990s, but they don't have a website. But in general, this is the bucket that requires a bit more strategy and a bit more relationship building.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, the way that I tend to explain it is like, if you came into $50 million tomorrow and you were like, I want to give away my money, it's probably unlikely that your first step is like, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to tell people exactly who I want to fund and I'm going to create an application process. You're just like, I'm going to give my money away to the causes that I care about or that my family decides. And the only way for people to really understand what you are interested in is by looking at this 990 and say, it's not that they might not be interested in funding you. It's just that you have to do the work to like build that relationship.
Right. And so you guys, that's how you're getting the information is through the 990s.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Yeah. Nice. I like that. Okay, so you have the advanced funder platforms, right? Or advanced funder.
Yep, advanced funder insights.
Mm-hmm. And then the foundation discovery.
Yep. And then the last piece is recipient profiles. So you can basically now look up a nonprofit that is similar to yours and then see who's funded that nonprofit.
Ooh, now that's
like a reverse search.
Yes, that's one I always encourage. But usually it's like, go to their website, see where they have their money. They don't always put their grants on their website. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's so smart. Yeah. So they just have to, it just matches them as well. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So for that, you would have to like kind of at this point, think of the nonprofit that you think it might be similar to yours. And then you would look them up on our quick find, and then you would go to their, what we call it, a recipient profile. And then on there, there'd be like a table that indicates year over year who they've gotten funding from.
Oh, nice.
And that basically also comes from the 990 as well. So because funders, they're listing out who they're funding. So then we basically have taken all of that information and brought it into a recipient view.
That's really cool. And all that information, just let people know out there, it's not like you're doing weird things. It's public information when they file. Right. So it's like you're getting it all from when they have to file every year, your 990, right? So we're like, oh, what is this 990? Oh yeah, we file that every year. So that's what you guys are gathering this information from. And that 990, what's so beautiful about it is that it's really showing you actuals. So you can make more sense then of this data, or of if a foundation has on their website, like we give to this cause, and maybe they don't have all their information up there, the 990 will really say, well, who are they actually giving to, for how much, right? How often? And sometimes it's weird, right? 990s can be funny because you can be like, well, they say they give it only in the state of Alabama, let's say. But we keep seeing this one nonprofit in Alaska they keep funding. Right. Like, what's up with that? And for me, it's like, well, that could be a myriad of issues. Maybe something they're just really passionate about, that nonprofit has reached out to them, they're a good fit. Maybe a board member is from that area. Like there's so many different reasons why there could be like those things, but that kind of stand out, right, on a 990. But is there anything else that you guys really find in 990s that you're like, now we can make more sense of this kind of anomaly looking stuff?
Well, I mean, I would say the one thing that's cool, I mean, it's like the trade-off. It's like you get to see what they actually have done, right? Like versus what they say they do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is like a human entered form. And so there can just be like, there's just like lots of typos. And you've probably seen this for even when a funder is like putting in the EIN of a nonprofit they funded, they will like put in the EIN wrong, or they'll just like misspell things. So that's a thing that's like important to note, is that this is like human entered information.
Oh, I like
it's not like, magically all correct. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that one of the, things that's helpful about 990s is like you get to see like their implicit preferences. And so it definitely shows up with locations, where funders can say a myriad of things on the websites, like I really focus on this specific geography, or I am open, but I prefer this geography. And there's so many different ways to interpret that. But when you actually look at the map that we provide and you like see who they funded year over year, you can actually understand like what that means. Is it a strong preference? Is it a weak preference for a certain geography or not?
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So
Yeah,
instead of just knowing, is that a preference? Like what kind of preference? Yeah. Like how much of it am I, because I fit everything that they do, but I fall outside of that geographic zone or just on the edge
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah. That's,
And then the
that's,
same, yeah, and then the same thing goes for like even the category where a funder might be like, we're kind of open, but we prefer this, or we prefer funding in these three categories, but we prefer that one. And so you actually want to see what they've done to make sense of what that is, because it can, the language isn't precise enough to actually know how to take that and make that actionable unless you look at the 990.
yeah, the 990 is
Yeah.
definitely, what do they say? Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the mouth,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, because
Yeah,
you're seeing this, is they might say one thing, but where do they get the money, right? That's where we really
totally.
want to know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's awesome. So, that's a lot of really cool three main things. Those are the three main things then that you guys are incorporating in this.
Yep.
And then do you have any other add-ons to that or any other things that you're doing around that?
We have a lot coming soon, especially around like collaboration and the tracking component. So this is kind of a big release around like our data, our 990 data, the way that we match you to foundations, a lot on the research and discovery side. And then we have a bunch of stuff that we're working on around the collaboration and tracking that will be in a future release in the next couple in the coming months.
Nice, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this plus plan, right?
Yeah.
So in it is kind of like, is that an added cost then to access the plus plan, or like how does it actually work?
Yeah, so it's a different tier. Historically, we've like had like one main tier that like most people will like fall under, which is our basic plan, and it has 10 projects and like basically it had all of our functionality. Now on the plus plan, you can go up to 20 projects, and just as a reminder, projects are kind of like those things that you get matched. It's like a safe search where you can get foundations now, funders now, as well as grant opportunities matched to, and they operate kind of like workspaces. So they can have to 20 on the plus plan. And then you also have this additional functionality that I just mentioned.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a higher tier and it's easy. You can like kind of try it out, see if it's something that is adding a lot of value. What I would look for is to see if it like kind of saves you time to have those additional like advanced funder insights. Is it saving you time to make sure that now that you have like really all of your funders in one place, now that we're also matching you to those invite only funders or those funders that don't have websites. And then are those recipient profiles also saving you time by being able to like shortcut your prospecting process by like looking up a nonprofit that's similar to yours.
Right. So you think a good fit for wanting to go to the plus plan tier would be somebody who like is working with a larger nonprofit or freelancer, like who would be a really good fit for that tier?
Yeah, I think it comes down to kind of like where you're at in your grant seeking process. I think if you're like very much just getting started, like the basic plan could be okay for you. But if you're needing those additional insights and you started to like understand what it takes to like break into a new funder, and you also, if you have the capacity, especially for relationship building, then the plus plan is I would think where you'd want to start.
Okay, nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is great. So then they can always find you at instrumentl.com. And right, that's your website?
Yep.
And Instrumentl is not spelled the traditional way. So definitely at the end, the whole word is INSTRUMENTL. So
That's right.
instrumentl.com, and we'll definitely have that in the show notes as well. So you have the direct link. So when you're looking up Instrumentl, just remember it is spelled a little bit differently. So you know that. So this has been fun. And then I know we'll be doing more with grant writing and funding with Instrumentl as well, and those partnerships and getting information out there on grant writing and collaborating as well on the different things that you guys are doing, since it makes sense because so many people obviously that listen to the podcast are grant writers or they're breaking into grant writing and having this tool. I know one of the biggest questions I always got before was, Holly, how do I find grants? Like, that's great if I know how to write one, but I need to be able to find one. So this was definitely something I recommend to say, well, this is a tool that you can use to help you with that process, because grant research in itself is an art, right? I always like to think of it as like this art form to really understand how to do it. Because yeah, you could Google different grants, but are they really a good fit? And it's even like back in the day, and I know a lot of nonprofits still do this, they'll write a 2-page grant application, kind of like a letter of intent or a letter of inquiry, and they'll just email it out to like 50 people, like different foundations or different funding sources, the same exact one. And then I'll say, well, how did that work out for you? Not so good, like God all knows, like all rejections, because I think mass is better than finding very specific ones. So even for freelancers, I say, if you're going to do a grant research, just say you're going to do 10 best fit. Like, you don't have to say I'm going to do 50 best fit and think that's the best for now. Like, start smaller, because then you can really get the really good fit that you have a really higher chance of actually getting that grant, because you actually meet their mission statement, you meet their vision, all of their eligibilities, all of the things, right? And that saves time, really, right? So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially if you're just getting started, it's almost even more important to be more strategic, so that you don't burn out in the process. Because what you don't want, and you probably heard this before, is like, I submitted 50 applications, I can't do grants, or I've submitted, applied and I'm getting rejected. But if you actually are strategic, then you can just like increase your chances of the overall process being something that's positive, high ROI, as opposed to just like, feeling like it's not.
Yeah, because then people, we take things personally, right?
Yeah.
Like, they rejected me, or like my profit baby. Why do they think it's great? You know what I mean? Like all of these things. And it's like, no, that's not it at all. I'm sure your nonprofit's amazing and you are amazing, right? But it's like, it just wasn't a good strategy, right? So it's like rethinking the strategy and how to do that. So finding an organization and that's a good fit. And how do you find an organization that's a good fit? Well, there's a variety of ways. And one of those ways is what you've been talking about, is the 990s, right? You can use the data then to see where did they exactly fund, who are they funding, how much, what areas, all of that. And how is that, what are the trends year to year to really understand, are they a good fit then? So yeah, I love that, because that's just going to increase your chances then of getting yeses and not feeling rejected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And also just like eliminating funders that are not a good fit fast.
Yeah. That's really good, because you don't want to go through that whole process of kind of like that dating game and then it not to be a good fit. So yeah. Or a one-sided dating game, I should say. So, but yeah, this has been great. So I love that the Plus plan launch. And when is this coming?
Yeah, so it's going to be some of it is already live. And so you can already see on the Plus plan that we have our recipient profiles and we have these advanced funder insights. And the last feature here, foundation discovery, is going to be launching, I would say in about a week and a half.
Wow, so soon.
It's going to be hot off the presses soon.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you guys are looking just to get more information on grant research, definitely check out instrumentl.com. And if you're interested in the Plus plan, you mentioned they can give it a go. They can give it a try. So do you have like a free trial for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, actually, if you just start our normal 14-day trial, you're automatically going to be able to try the Plus plan.
Oh, nice. And what if they are already a user?
Yeah, if you're already a customer, you'll be hearing from us soon. We're actually going to give everybody a 2-week free trial on the Plus plan.
Okay, nice. So they'll be able to access it. Yeah, definitely let us know what you guys like about the Plus plan. Give us your feedback. That would be great to see how we like that. So I think it's really good, though. I know it's going to be useful for a lot of people. So we appreciate you guys doing this work and just being able to like figure out all the tech behind it. All these things, because it's so interesting. As part of that, I'm curious, as your tech has been developing, is that helpful? Like, how does that feed into the choices that you guys look at making as well? Like, is that a huge tech build out, or is that something, that you can implement pretty easy, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff that with this release was pretty heavy on the engineering side, and which is really exciting, because we're able to now have the engineering capacity to build stuff that's more complex and requires more engineering work. But I think that, in general, my background is in product and engineering. I studied computer science. And so that's always a focus of ours in terms of how we think about building our company, it's always about like increasing more value in the product, so that we're truly meeting your needs and solving your problems. And so I think that like the more difficult engineering problems we can solve around this, the more valuable of an experience we can build for you.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because that is, like I said, that was so much time to do those types of things that you guys have automated, but I know that doesn't come just by a snap of fingers. Like there's a lot that goes behind developing the ease on the user side.
Totally.
So,
yeah. And if you use the Plus plan and you're like, I wish I saw this on the 990, or I had this insight, or what, I would love to hear that from your audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, I mean, once you build out these more complex, engineering systems or tech systems, right, then maybe that becomes not like a whole nother maybe year or so to implement, because you're building out the structure, right, to be able to kind of fine tune those different needs, which is really nice and advantageous. So yeah, definitely let us know. That would be awesome. I can't wait to try out the Plus plan. So I can give you some feedback. Great.
Yeah, we'll love that.
Yeah. Awesome. So once again, we'll definitely be working with you guys some more, and love what you guys are doing. Always welcome back to the podcast anytime to talk about your updates. And if you guys are looking, once again, it's Instrumentl, and we'll definitely throw this in the show notes so you guys can see all the links and some of the information to get your free trial to Instrumentl. Awesome. Anything else, Gauri?
We're super excited for this release. We feel like it helps us kind of bridge the gaps with one of the biggest pieces of feedback that we had been hearing with like doing more with this 990 data. And so would just love any feedback that your audience has, and we'd love for everybody to check it out and try it out.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will see you soon. Thank you so much again for coming on, and good luck with your launch.
Thank you. Yeah, good to see you, Holly.
You too. Bye-bye.